शिवतराय च सर्वक्रत्वात्मने अस्त्राय फट् भूर्भुवस्वरोमिति दिग्बन्धक ध्यानम् शुद्धस्फटिक संकाशं शुद्ध विद्या प्रदायकं शुद्धं पूर्णं चिदानन्दं सदा शिवमहं भजे। ओम आपातालनभस्थलान्त भुवनद्ब्रह्माण्डमा विस्फुरत् ज्योतिस्फाटिकलिङ्गमौलिविलसत्पूर्णेन्दुवान्तामृतैः हस्तोकाप्लुतमेकमीशमनिशं रुद्रानुवाकाञ्जपन् ध्यायेदीप्सितसिद्धये ध्रुवपदं विप्रोभिषिञ्चेच्छिवम् ब्रह्माण्डव्याप्तदेहाभसितहिमरुचा भासमाना भुजङ्गैः कण्ठे कालाः कपर्दाः कलितशशिकलाश्चण्डकोदण्डहस्ताः त्र्यक्षा रुद्राक्षमाला प्रणतभयकरा शाम्भवामूर्तिभेदाः रुद्रा श्रीरुद्रसूक्तप्रकटितविभवानः प्रयच्छन्तु सौख्यम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय। ॐ नमस्ते रुद्रमन्यवभूतोतयिषवे नमः। नमस्ते अस्तु धन्वने बाहुभ्यामुतते नमः। यातयिषुः शिवतमा शिवं बभूवते धनुः शिवा शरव्यायातवतया नो रुद्रमृडया याते रुद्रशिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी तया नस्तनुभाषन्तमया गिरिशन्त भिचाकसीः यामिषुङ्गिरिशन्त हस्ते बिभर्षस्तवे शिवाङ्गिरित्रताङ्कुरु माहि गुंसि पुरुषं जगत् शिवेन वचसा त्वा गिरिशाच्छावदामसि यथा नः सर्वमिज्जगदयक्ष्मगुं सुमना असत् अध्यवोचदधिवक्ता प्रथमो दैव्योऽभिषक अहिगश्च सर्वाञ्जम्भयन् सर्वाश्च यातु धान्यः असौ यस्ताम्रो अरुणवुत बभ्रः सुमङ्गलः ये चेमागुं रुद्रा अभितो दिक्षु श्रिताः सहस्रशो वैशागुं हेडयीमहे असौ यो वसर्पति नीलग्रीवो विलोहितः भूतैनं गोपा अदृशन्नदृशन् नुदहार्यः भूतैनं विश्वाभूतानि सदृष्टो मृडयाति नः नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीडुषे अथो ये अस्य सत्त्वानो हन्तेभ्यो करन्नमः प्रमुञ्च धन्वनस्त्वमुभयो राज्ञयोर्ज्याम् याश्च ते हस्तयिषवः पराता भगवो वप अवतत्य धनु स्वगुं सहस्राक्ष शतेषु धे निशीर्य शल्यानां मुखा शिवो न सुमना भव। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kulahu Allahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, Lam Yalid, Balam Ullad, Lam Yakullahu Kufawan Ahad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kulahu Allahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, Lam Yalid Balam Yulad, Lam Yakullahu Kufuwan Ahad. La ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah. Let us all be together. Let us all be nourished together. Let us all work together with great vigor. May our studies shine and illumine our intellects. May we not hate each other. Let there be peace, peace, and peace. Sairam, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, brothers and sisters. Eid Mubarak to all our
Sairam.
lovely brothers and sisters from all over the world that practice Islam, which in very simple messages of Shirdi Bhagavan, very simply put, Allah Malik, Allah Bhala Karega, Shraddha Saburi, the faith and the patience and the practice of what the divine has declared through the voice of Hazrat Muhammad. That's what is more important. Bhagavan says very beautifully in a discourse that the Vedas are Shruti and Smriti. They were heard and they were passed on through word of mouth. How they were seen, they were heard, they were not written. And if you take the life of every single Messiah, every single great prophet, that is the case. They have heard, they have passed on, they have, and in the context of what is said as Sriti, as Vedas are called, is listening, not listening with just the 2 ears, not listening with this context of what we listen through this instrument, the ear, but listening in the context of the heart. That is what we say, Bhadrang karne bhihi srunuyama devaha. Bhadrang karne bhihi, listening with the heart, seeing with not the instrument, the eye, seeing what is to be seen, knowing not with the mind, knowing that by knowing which thou shalt know everything inside and outside. So last week we have contemplated on the meanings of a few mantras. I don't know what happened with this Facebook page or whatever. Nobody sent me any homework, nor did they post it on the Facebook page. I was checking the Facebook page every day if anybody has posted any homework, and didn't happen. So I don't know whether people did not understand they have to post their homework on the web page, but please do, because it is important that we also take this week break that you are getting is really to do the homework, right? And so last week we contemplated on the meaning of Pramuncha Dhanvanastva Mubhayoratniyor Jam on, and then that is the instrument to work for thee. And then the 11th Ruk we also contemplated about how we get away with the perceptions of others think who we are. And then, yes, somebody, Sairam? Sairam? Okay, Sairam. All right. So the context of what we are going through in this Rudram, Sri Rudram first Anuvakam, we have contemplated on 11 Ruks, and now from the purity, integrity to connecting to the emotions, going beyond the emotions, the mind. And then now we are going to the being, which is the context of stillness. And in this context of stillness, and the homework that, by the way, that I sent was to contemplate on the ninth point code of conduct, practicing sealing on desires. And the only homework I got was a child beautifully drew, put a house and a ceiling and the four pillars of food, time, money, and energy. The homework really, probably I didn't make it clear, was to understand. Of course, we understand how to save time or not to waste time. Of course, we understand how to not waste food. Of course, we understand how not to waste money. Those are tangible, simple things that we can practice. And of course, the time and the food and the money, those savings can be utilized for the service of mankind. But what we have not, probably the homework I gave was, what does it mean to save energy? And how do you use that saved energy for the service of mankind? This was the homework. But I request you to, I'm not going to spill the beans. Um, contemplate on that, and you have the Facebook page where you can actually post it, so I can read all the comments and the sharing on the Facebook page. If you are not on Facebook page, or you are allergic to Facebook as a tool, kindly just send me an email, and then I will share it with others on the Facebook page. So that's the reason why we created that Facebook page. Okay, Sairam. Energy. How do we save energy? Have we contemplated, brothers and sisters, how we waste energy? How we waste energy? I think someone sent very beautiful discourse of Baba to the MBA students in Puttaparthi on zero-based budget. It's very nice sharing. I don't want to go into academics or the class associated with. Very simply put, zero-based budget really means if you have some money and you have to invest that money, you actually think about your balance sheet as it is related to how many liabilities you have, right? If what is your balance sheet as in liabilities? Balancing, zero balancing. What are my assets? What are my liabilities? And then how do I actually deploy this new money that is coming in so that I can grow it and I can use it in a way that would enable me to grow. But zero-based budget is not paying attention to any of those things and then very simply investing what all you have and then going forward with it. So this, what we were calling as last week about the context of perceptions and etc., is the zero-based bhakti. That's what Swami was really talking about in the context of how much energy do we waste? Enormous energy wasted thinking about the past or planning for the future. If you invest all that energy into the here and now and be present, how would you, how much energy is actually generated and how do we use that energy for the service of mankind? Again, I will re-give this as a homework for the people. And as I said last time, and every class I tell you, this is study. This is jnana yajna. This is yajna, means you are offering something from your heart into the fire of sacrifice. If you don't utilize that opportunity to do that, we will be chanting Rudram as if we are chanting to an angry God to appease our desires and continue to bless us with something so mundane and so irrelevant and ephemeral, and it doesn't even make any difference. We will be worried about how this corona thing will be affecting us and everything around us and get stifled in our lives, and not using this present moment to actually know ourselves. And this is an incredible opportunity for us during this time when we are bound inside, we are tied inside. The other thing that I requested you to contemplate on is Allah Malik, in the context of how we surrender our instrument to Allah, the Master. And the greatest instrument, one we talked about last week, relevant to Hanuman Jayanti, was Hanuman, the greatest, Allah Malik. And the whole week of Ramadan contemplation on Allah Malik, Allah the Master. Again, I'm not going to ask you what to do with those words. Connect to those words. What do those words are saying? Allah Malik. What does that mean to be an instrument in the hands of God? Yeah. So one time I asked Bhagavan in one of my interactions with him in a dream, is really I don't want to call it a dream, but if for context of common understanding, I can call it a dream. So it's not a physical thing. Interaction is what I mean to say. Then I asked him, so what, Swami, what is the purpose of my life? Is a great question. No, everybody asks, what is the purpose of my life? And then a lot of people give many answers which I do not even understand. Realize yourself, whatever it is. Swami made it very simple for me. He very basically said, purpose of life? Oh, let me tell you. It's simple. Be ready. I said, be ready? Be ready for what? I said, well, if you are a engineer and you are trying to fix something and you have a toolbox and you require a specific screwdriver to use, and then you're looking in your toolbox, what is the best screwdriver? Then you try this, one fits, the other doesn't fit, etc. And then whatever doesn't fit, you throw back into the toolbox and you keep looking for that tool that perfectly fits. And you only use the tool that perfectly fits that what needs to be done. Others you throw away. And he said, that's the purpose of life. Be ready. And that be ready is really about what we were thinking about, that, oh Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to thee. I'm not going to tell you what does it mean to be ready. Everyone has their own way of becoming what is to be ready. This study circle is purpose is really to give the pointers, and the rest of the work is done by each and every one of us in the context of our own personal life situations, baggage, carrying baggage, how much baggage we are carrying, etc. And this baggage is perceptions. How much baggage is carried on? Anything about the context of what we were contemplating in these mantras as it relates to be the instrument ready and to transcend perceptions, as we were talking about. Avatatya dhanuhu tvam sahasraksha sete shudhe. See, sahasraksha is the key word. Thousands of what is seen and imprinted in our images that are imprinted. Aksha means eyes. Sahasraksha means we are seeing with 1,000 eyes. We are not seeing with 2 eyes, brothers and sisters. We are seeing with 1,000 eyes. Every feeling we are seeing, everything is imprinted. And we are carrying all those thoughts and perceptions in our quivers. Sete Shudhe. And then every time some perception pops up, when you look at a person, oh God, some thought or the word will come like as pointed as an arrow, just ready to be launched. I'm really urging you all to use these beautiful principles of life given in Rudram. I'm really urging you all not to get carried away by how this Rudram, I'm not saying it is incorrect or imperfect or whatever it is to chant Rudram and offer to God. Please don't even go there. But that's the very, 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 very basic step. Sairam, let us go to the next mantras. If otherwise, brother, if you can open any comments. I haven't been paying attention to any comments coming through. Ah, okay, very good. Calling one, calling two, calling three. Is Arun Hampapur online? I see Arun Hampapur. Arun?
Sairam, brother, Sonia.
Sonia, yes, Sairam.
I have a question. We are studying the Sri Rudram with a small group, and we are in that really basic step you are talking about, because we don't know don't know the language, don't know the meaning of the words or whatever, or, it's not our language. So how far should we go trying to be accurate with the pronunciation, and how to mix that with understanding of the meaning and the deeper meaning, as you have been explaining to us lately?
Yeah. So when I say basic, it doesn't mean it is incorrect or anything like that. It is like a little kid learning how to speak, and it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to don't, you are doing with love. And I went through this example of a little baby calling his father or mother with a very complex name. How would the father or the mother react when the child cannot even pronounce the father or mother's name? They don't make fault with the baby. They will love the baby. In fact, they adore the baby, that the baby is making mistakes of calling the name. But don't stop there, is what I'm trying to say. Do not stop there.
Thank you.
Hi Ram Shekhar, this is Arun.
Arun, Sairama, good to hear your voice. I didn't realize that you were joining as well. Nice to, wonderful. So, anybody has anything to share? How to delete pre-concept notions? Thanks. How to delete? How to delete? How to delete? A Buddhist monk asked his Lama, is it okay for monks to send emails? And then the Lama told his disciple, yes, as long as there are no attachments. That's the answer to the question on how to delete preconcept notion. Yes. Yeah. These concepts that are stored, or perceptions that are stored, they keep coming up based on the situation, and you have no idea why you reacted in such a way for that situation. And you say, well, why did I do that? Then you understand that when you go deeper into that after post-mortem, then you realize that there is something that got triggered in you. Then the question really is not to delete it, but can you be present to that before it is manifested with a deep breath? Then automatically, when you are present to that and not act on it, that will come and just go. And then when the next time it comes, you know, oh, I'm aware of this guy. He came before too. Then, oh, this is the same email I keep getting, you know. There is a sync error. When there is a system sync error in emails, then you keep getting this synchronization log errors. I think you are all connecting to the language I'm talking. You have no idea why certain emails are bouncing, you know, wrong email address, some domain name not correct, and you keep deleting those, right? Same thing happens with perceptions, if that makes sense.
Can I make a comment, Bhaya?
Yes, Sandhya, yes.
I think it's really challenging, and I accept that it's challenging to transcend perceptions and the thoughts that come in. And it's a constant thing. I'm not certain at what point it will go away, but I think of it as something to be watchful for. I think be aware and be alert is especially important, to watch the thoughts. And
Did you,
I think that's one.
Sandhya, sorry, you just used the two, be aware, be alert is BABA, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. You
Yes,
got
that's
it.
my favorite slogan. Yes. And I think
Be aware, be alert. Baba,
yes,
Baba is what should come into the front.
yes. And then
Okay.
that is one area where I would not mind expending energy on. Constantly watching the thoughts and cutting short the thoughts. It's an
Yeah.
exercise, and it's an energy expounding exercise.
I agree. I think what I'm trying to say is watching is not energy. Watching really, now if you ask the question, who is watching, then it is energy. When then it is energy. So you have to first ask the question, who is watching? If your mind is watching itself with some kind of an expectation, or with some kind of you know, I'm going to become better because of this, or some result out of that, then what happens is, then it's an extra burden, because you're watching, you're asking a dog to watch, and this dog is spending energy watching every stranger, barking, running, all of that stuff, right? So that is what I'm trying to, if I'm making sense, I don't want to turn this into too much of a philosophical discussion, but practically, as long as the one that is watching is your mind, again it's an extra burden.
True. And a time will come when you're just the observer. You just watch the thoughts, they come and they go. And at that time, it's not a painful process or an energy consuming process. But until we reach that point, I think there is some active involvement from our side that is necessary. Correct?
Yes. That's,
Second
I'm not
question.
going to say correct yes or not, because I'm nobody to qualify your statement. I'm not, but the thought process seems logical to me. Let me put it that way.
Shekhar Garu, Venkat here, question. On the
Yes.
Shraddha Saburi part, in real life situation, the Saburi, patience, is misunderstood most of the time for lack of willingness to act, or lethargic, or ignorance. How do we contemplate on that? You know, it's like
Yes.
yeah.
So brother is asking a very beautiful question. If you surrender all your instruments and you are patient to wait, people may think that you are incapable person. How do you address that? So the very first basic thing is going back to, whose perception are you addressing? Some external perception of how people will feel about you? And how does that matter? But actually that is matter that causes scatter. So doesn't matter.
So eventually that means you may have to take the downfall from it, right?
Well, whose downfall from what? So you have to ask the question, whose perception are you addressing? Somebody thinking that you are incapable, inefficient? Yes, that is what you're asking about. Yeah. So what is that somebody, some perception you are addressing? Why does it matter to address somebody's perception in the context of, yeah, now you're asking the question, well, that is true at a spiritual being, but I'm in a relative world at work or at home, or my wife thinks that I'm a useless fellow and I don't do anything useful at home. All those things, yes, yeah, don't carry that baggage. Just do what is needed when it is needed. You need to apply your thought and you apply your tools or instruments that God has given to you. These mantras are not saying that don't use them, but don't use them as instruments. Don't get consumed by the instrument.
Got it.
Just,
Thank you.
just like when you drive a car, you require to drive a car. But when you drive a car, you park it in your garage. You don't drive it into your bedroom. When you use a sweeper or a vacuum cleaner, you use it to clean the stuff. After that, what do you do with it? You don't carry it. Oh, what a beautiful vacuum cleaner. It helped me clean. Let me put it on my head and carry it on all. Do you do that? No, you put the vacuum cleaner in a closet and remove the plug, and then you wind it up and you put it in a closet. Why don't you do that with your mind? Why don't you do that with your intellect? Why don't you do that with your own instruments? That is what is these mantras are actually saying. The mantras are not saying don't use the instrument at all. Use them as needed, including thinking. Yeah. So the other thing about context of be, being an instrument, is that an expectation? Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Our concept that even the thought of being an instrument itself is a burden. Yes, I do agree. To be an instrument doesn't mean that you have now a goal called let me be an instrument. Beautiful. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Shekhar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Arun. Go ahead.
On the instrument thing, I guess what I was trying to ask your thoughts on was, see, once you presume you're an instrument, we're all instruments, whether we like it or not, we are instruments.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that the master may choose to use the instrument may be quite surprising to maybe quite well beyond our expectations. We may think that instrument will only be used for something that we perceive as good or bad.
Beautiful.
But the master may have a very different
Yes.
plan.
Beautiful. No, that is very well said. Again, being an instrument doesn't mean let me be an instrument to you as the way I want to be instrument. That is not what an instrument is. It fundamentally defies the definition of what an instrument is. An instrument is something that is willing to be used. Like I just used the example of a vacuum cleaner. There is an instrument that's a vacuum cleaner. There is an instrument that's a screwdriver. There is an instrument that's a car. How many instruments are there? Not every instrument has to be used only for specific purposes. In a similar way, very well said. There is an instrument called Jesus the Christ, who completely sacrificed his body because that's what is the instruction to that instrument. There is an instrument called Hanuman that was used for a specific purpose to go deliver something to or find that incredible thing called Mother Sita. There is an instrument called Muhammad who was used completely in a different way. When he told the people around him, I heard the voice of God and this is what he has asked us to do, the people in Mecca did not even believe in him. They drove him away. And they had to now take, weapons and fight against these tribes, and trying to bring these tribes that are fighting against each other like crazy. Then he had to do the hard work of bringing dharma to those tribes and asking them to follow the message of God in the context of a harmonious, peaceful living. And that is what is called Islam. There is an instrument that went before God, and God said, kill your son right in front of me. He did not. He struggled within himself with the attachment. And at the end of the day, that instrument has to kill his own son and sacrifice his own son for the sake of God. And that struggle is what is described as Israel. There is an instrument that went to the top of the mountain and saw the light of the God, and then brought down rules of living for the people. And that instrument is called Moses, that walked miles and miles and months of desert and heat, and therefore has to sacrifice everything associated with his own self and the body. So absolutely right. Now you see how many different types of instruments. Not every single instrument was used the same way. And no single instrument said, let me be used the way I want to be used. Is there any religion I missed? I think Buddhism is what I missed, but I think now you all see this beautiful background of Bhagavan surrounded by all these symbols of different instruments. Each of these symbols represent a specific way of how these instruments can be polished by the God by his will, not by our will. Jai Sai Ram. And the question that Arun was asking was, brothers and sisters, the instrument should not, every single thing that is in this creation is by definition an instrument, but we operate otherwise thinking that we are not. So the reflection as we are going through this beautiful Anuvakam, the first Anuvakam, how the reflection is now addressing itself in the context to the source, right? Now, let's go back to today's, oh my God, today I haven't even touched the, but this is good because if you are all not, I am in no rush. And there is no point in rushing through and want to learn everything. And beautiful. The next mantra, or Ruk as we call it, is now going to the 12th Ruk. And I think I chanted this, right, before going to this. Vijjandhanu kapardino Vishalyo Banavagum Utam Aneshan Sheshava Abhurasya Nishangadhigi. Continuing the concept of different tools and instruments. Each and every word in this 12th Ruk. Vijjam, Dhanuhu, Kapardinaha, Vishalyaha, Banavan, Uta. An Shan Asya Ishavaha. Abhuhu Asya Nishangatihi. We already, in this mantra, we are addressing the source as Kapardi. Kapardi. You all have to probably make note of how many different ways the source is addressed in this entire first Anuvakam. How many different ways is the source addressed? And each of those references to the source carries a deeper meaning and make a notes of it. So like Sister Sonia asked, we are all basic. How do we get to that level of understanding? Well, I'm explaining everything in English. Unfortunately, that may not be even the natural language for others. But when you take these notes and then you make a like a study of these notes, then it will act. That is what is called adhyayana, means that which takes you above your intellect to deeper contemplation. Vijjam dhanuhum kapardinaha. Kapardi. Who is Kapardi? Kapardi in literal translation means the one with a matted hair. And in this mantra you're saying, O Kapardi, Vijjan Dhanuhu, may the bow be freed of its string, Vijjam, Vijjam Dhanuhu. We already referred to that in Pramuncha Dhanvanaha. Now, Vijjam Dhanuhu means may that bow be unstringed. Let it be like that. Oh, the one who is the matted hair. Vishalyaha Banavan Uta. And also Vishalyaha means these banas, means the arrows that are in your quiver. Those are in Vishalyaha, means they are unpierceable, they are blunted. Anshan Asya Ishavaha. Those arrows therefore become incapable of piercing through. Anshan, they are unable, they are disabled to be piercing. Those Ishavaha arrows are now disabled to be piercing. Abhuhu Asya Nishangadihi. Asya Nishangadihi Abhuhu. Now here is another one that is interesting thing that is brought in Nishangadihi. Nishangadihi is this sword. There is that sword that you have. That sword is in a sheath. You know, the sword is kept in a sheath, no, as an instrument. And that sword, let that sheath in which you store that sword, let it be just supporting to the sword. That means let that sword stay in the sheath and let that sheath be just supporting to it. Don't pull it out. Asya nishangadi, asya abhu nishangadihi. Asya nishangadihi abhu. That's the words in the context of may that sheath of yours for the sword, let it be merely a support. Abhu. That's the literal meaning of this beautiful rook. And I already gave away the punchline. What we are saying, how do we put that all in context? This mantra refers the inner self to as Kapardin, Kapardi. Kapardi means a renunciate with a matted hair. Who is a renunciate? A renunciate is defined as the one whose mind is disengaged in desire, Vijjan Dhanuhu. And the quiver is only a placeholder for the thoughts. It's a placeholder for the thoughts that are blunted, not pointed and piercing. And his intellect is simply held in a sheath and not pulled out for every single aspect. So for a renunciate, what happens? The faculties exist. There is the bow, there is the arrow, there is the quiver, there is the sword. All these faculties exist. Now this is what Brother Venkat was asking. But these faculties that are existing, they are disengaged in indulgence of desire, or they're disengaged in the ability to hurt themselves or others. When we put all of this together in context, may the mind of the one with matted hair, who is right behind me with this beautiful crown of hair, And we are asking him, may my mind be freed of desire. May my quiver be without piercing ends of thoughts that are unusable to hurt others. And may those thoughts become incapable of hurting others. And my intellect, let it be simply in the sheath of support, and let it be a support tool. Let it not be used in for anything else, any other purpose. Hurt never. That is the beautiful contemplatory inner meaning of this Ruk, which is the 12th Ruk, hurt never. And I will also take 5 more minutes to explain the next beautiful Ruk that we are going to go through is the 13th Ruk. Ya te hetermidhustama haste babhuvate dhanuhu tayasman vishwatasya maya kshmaya paribhujam. Ya te hetihi midustama haste babhuva te dhanuhu taya asman vishwataha tvam ayakshmaya paribhuja. Now these next 3 mantras, by the way, the last mantra that we studied had Narada as the Rishi, Anushtup as the Chandas, and Rudra as the deity. The next 3 mantras, very interestingly, Bhagavan is the preceptor, Anushtup is the Chandas, and Bhagavan is the deity. Next 3 mantras. I don't know if there was a Rishi called Bhagavan, maybe he existed, but it intrigued me when I was studying these mantras that Bhagavan is the preceptor of this and Bhagavan is the deity. So what is this mantra is basically saying? Let's take a look at the each and every word. Ya. Now in this mantra, the source is referred to as Midhushtama. Midhushtama means an abundant source of grace, a fountain of grace, a fountain of that showers grace unconditionally. Ya te hetihi means those weapons. Ya te hetihi. Heti means weapons. Those weapons, haste babhuva, that are in your hands, te dhanuhu, and that bow, those have now, they don't have any purpose other than using, they have no purpose of destruction. That means what? They're not going, they're useless for destruction, right? Yeah. Why are they useless for destruction? Because the bow is not stringed, it is not usable, therefore it can't launch an arrow, but at the same time, your sword is in the sheath and all your arrows are blunted, so they are not, cannot be used for purpose of destruction. Now what are they used for? They are only used now for tayatvam paribhuja asman vishwataha. Those now you can use to protect our worlds, asman vishwataha. That is, these are called kwans in the Zen parlance. These kwans are used now. At some point I will have to say that explaining these through expression itself loses the purpose, because they can be, when we try to put words around them and explain them, they become confusing, and that's why they're called kwans. And so when people say there is no meaning to Veda mantras, or you should not be worried about the meaning of the Veda mantras. What it means is they're not expressible with ordinary words, and therefore you wouldn't understand them anyway. You wouldn't understand them. But that doesn't mean don't put the effort to actually connect to this in the context of self-realization. That's the reason why these greatest rishis brought forth these mantras to be used for transforming ourselves. The only mission of Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba being transforming from our inner animal nature to the human, to the context of the divine. And with that purpose now, when we look at this beautiful rook, all the faculties have lost their ability to cause destruction. Bow is untied, arrow without sharp point, quiver with arrows that are all pointed inward, sheath that is simply a supporter of the sword. Now you see, mind without desire, thought without sharp points, thoughts that are engaged in self-awareness, going inside, pointed inside, and then the intellect that is very simply engaged in self-inquiry and staying inside the sheath. The ever-compassionate one, which is Midushtama, the ever-compassionate one, constant shower of love and compassion, constant, uninhibited shower of love and compassion. What do they use? They use the faculties for the purpose of staying in the self, and an inquiry that uses them. And when they use those tools externally, they use it only for the purpose of helping the world. Tayasman Vishwataha Paribhuja. Paribhuja means surrounding, Vishwataha, worlds. Tayasman. Ayakshmaya also means free of disease. The disease, the fundamental disease of birth and death. And therefore, what is the essence of this rook? The previous one was hurt never. This one is help ever. We haven't lost the faculties, brothers and sisters. No, we haven't gotten rid of the faculties, nor has the renunciate thrown them into a dustbin and then said, put it out for the garage guy to pick it up. No, we haven't done that. Those are still there. Now people say the word surrender. Surrender myself. This is a very commonly used. Once you surrender, then you don't need. What does that mean? The word surrender. Have we really seen that? And these rooks help you see what that means. Now you have something tangible. It's not esoteric philosophical declaration of what surrender really means. Here you are giving the prescription of how you actually use these instruments and in what state they are present. And why we are going through all of this, because this last mantras that we are talking, the rooks that we are talking about, is about now being, the stillness of the being. The stillness of the being is where we are connecting to.
Sairam, can I ask you a question, Secretary?
Yes, Sairam.
So if we blunt our arrows, our thoughts, our quiver is empty, and we are in stillness, and the sharpness of the sword is gone, how are we going to be effective in helping others? Are we blunting the good thoughts, good intentions, good deeds too? How do we console that?
Yeah. Now we are thinking an instrument is only useful if it has the capability to pierce and has the sharpness. Yes, that is a very good question. We are thinking that if I don't have my word that is sharp and pointed, it is useless.
So we are dulling the sharpness so we don't hurt other people. So we use a
Yes.
softer language to do the same. That's what I get?
Well, yeah, code of point, 9-point code of conduct, speaking lovingly and obligingly to others.
Okay. So take the rough edges out of you, around you, and you be easily accessible for others, and you can be helpful without hurting them.
You're answering your own question, no?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Sairam.
Sairam. You see now, this is the beauty of the question itself. The beauty of the question is that when you ask a question, brothers and sisters, and I'm not referring this to Sister Sujata here, what I am trying to give is a topic of question. Where does the question come from? When the without the awareness of something, even a question does not arise. But when you get a question and then you go reverse it, where it is coming from in that awareness, the answer is actually in the question. And what you just watched is sister asking a question and then answering with the question itself.
So Sairam, this is Kusuma from Narwak. So basically bottom line is you use the energy from small I to big I and allow that energy to do the work, whatever it might be. So basically that's the bottom line. So you utilize all the energy, whatever it is, to make yourself from small I to big I.
Thank you, Kusuma. Okay, we are 2 minutes over. Anything burning for sharing?
Saram Sekharji, this is Ram Pochinchala from Seattle.
Yes, Sairam.
Saram, so I just had a thought. Surrender is normally viewed in a connotation of X surrendering to Y or something like that. We are surrendering to something bigger than us. Whereas like sister was saying, small I to the bigger I, if I am part of this entire universe, and if we go inward, even if we blunt our tools or anything like that, it's not having sharp likes and dislikes and taking, there is no good or bad. Anything that comes, we treat with equal equanimity. That's where we want to be when we surrender, is what I'm getting from this look.
Yeah. So the context of surrender is surrender of what to what? In surrender, there are two things, but in reality, there are no two things. The instrument is not separate from what it is associated with. When that is, the whole point comes in separateness. So in surrender, when you use the word like you are saying, in the word, when we use the word surrender, there is surrender of something to something lower to something higher, something this to something that, small I to big I, and all of that stuff. But what we are contemplating in this Rudram is the reflection is not separate from the source. Yes, when you get this, when we all get this, that is the key context of that. There is no separate thing called reflection. There is only one thing called source. This reflection of this small eye or whatever we are talking is created because of that medium. No, when there is no medium of mirror, there is no medium of water. There is only one thing called the source. But we live the life of a reflection. We all want to first of all identify that I have a small eye, then there is a big eye, the small eye becomes the big eye and all of that stuff. But when you actually still this whole thing called the medium of perception, the medium of perception as in the thought, word and everything, that medium, when you realize that it is that medium that is causing all of this aberration called a reflection, then what remains is just the source. And that's what we will get to at the end of this. Tomorrow, hopefully, we will complete this beautiful thing. So I'm probably this is a lot more philosophical for people, but the reason why I'm bringing up this context of these comments and everything, beautiful sharings, don't stop your sharing, and don't stop, because the question that we arises is an important one to come to closure with. Otherwise, that will remain. Come to closure with questions. Yeah, the smaller eye melts into bigger eye, like the salt doll melts into become the essence of the salt in the water. Yes, that's a beautiful metaphor, analogy of Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Somebody asked him the question, so what is it to be this I? Can you please explain what is it to be this big I? And then Bhagavan Ramakrishna asked the person, if you take a salt doll, go into the middle of the ocean, drop the salt doll into the ocean, and then ask it to come back and tell what is the depth of the ocean, what is the salt doll going to tell you? Well, if it exists after it goes into the ocean, then it can come back and tell you. So you are asking me a question where that doesn't exist. How can it come back and explain? Okay, now Kusuma, once we are I, we enjoy everything. again, what is that enjoyment? And so I love picking up on my sister Kusuma. So I have fun with her. So thank you for everyone for this beautiful satsang. Apologies, we are 7 minutes over. Lot of thoughts to get rid of in the context of pondering over this. Do not lose that opportunity. Okay, love you all. And let's close with 9 samasta lokas, and then the beautiful context of Allah the Master. I will close with the thought of Allah. And the Al in Sanskrit means actually the power, the energy, the Shakti. Aha means the one with whom it is associated with. Allah means the one who is all powerful. That is what is the meaning of the word Allah. And it is the same thing described in the Lord's Prayer and the power of presence. Om Sri Sai Ram. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. 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 Samastalokaah सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय साई राम
Sairam.
Sairam.
Sai Ram.
Thank you very much.